we have the most robust R&D operation, I think, in our sector. And so we start to become a technology company, starting with dealing with the technology of our skincare and ingestible products to make sure that they're safe, effective, and that our claims are all fully supported. So that when regulators come to see us, they go away with a smile saying, wow, that's the way we hope people, now that's what we wish everybody did. You know, where they understood their products and they were tracking, you know, the history of their products as they run into millions of users in the marketplace. And, you know, we've done a pretty good job of that. You know, there's going to be a glitch here and there with, you know, 50 sets of regulators looking at us constantly, and so we're constantly on top of it. But we have the right infrastructure to respond to any concerns or questions that come along. Last week, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, there's an interesting event here. Now, some of you have been coming to this building. How many of you have been here before? How many of you have been here like 5 or 10 years ago? Did you, as you drove from the airport to here, did you see anything different about the landscape? What did you see?
A lot of buildings.
A lot of buildings. A lot of buildings down there between the point of the mountain, we call it that little rise you go through as you come more down in this valley in Lehi, Utah, and all around there. That sector has come to be known in the popular press as Silicon Slopes. You know, the Silicon Valley in California. Here we've got mountain slopes. These are Silicon Slopes. Those are tech companies, and virtually every one of them is a technology company. And they've banded together to create some kind of a little coalition to help them to drive government policies and tax structure and things that will be helpful to growing that sector and having these, you know, in this close little space here. You know, this is a little bit like the research triangle in North Carolina. You know, there's some big major research universities between the University of Utah, Utah State, Utah Valley University, Brigham Young University, and Salt Lake Community College, which is, has 40,000 students going on there too. There's just this enormous workforce of young, highly educated, technologically savvy folks pouring into this marketplace that are feeding this, you know, the center of technology and innovation. There was a local company here that just sold for $6 billion, you know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago. So some really great things are happening. So they put this little conference together to bring technologists together to talk about the issues of the day. And, you know, they bring in the CEO of Oracle and others, you know, to come in and talk to them. We were major sponsors this year of that conference. We sponsored that. And we held an event here in the atrium here where a number of these CEOs were here. A guy from Dell, a guy from, a number of folks were, you know, top leaders were here. And, you know, the question is, well, you're a motion company. You know, what are you doing sponsoring a tech conference? And so apparently, I didn't know this was gone online, but apparently there's a clip of me talking about that and saying, you know, that at our roots, we are really a technology company, starting with the story that I've already told you about our science group that is driving the technologies of skincare and human health through the product research that we're doing. But also, we have been driven by technology from you know, clear back in the 80s. When we started to expand internationally, technology wasn't what it is today. When we went to Canada, you know, just across our northern border, it was a nightmare. They have a different currency, they got a different tax structure. We're trying to figure out how to place orders. We built warehouses up there for distribution because we couldn't get stuff across borders. We had to have a call center up there that spoke French and English, and so we had to replicate our company in Canada, and it was a some of you may have lived through that. It was not a, you know, it wasn't a seamless thing, and so we just poured ourselves into this. If we plan to go become a world force, we got to figure this out, international expansion. And we developed the notion that we wanted one world, one new skin, which meant we needed to work around the world on common currency so that we could deal with, you know, pay checks on time without dealing with, you know, the vagaries of the in and out. When we went to Asia, there was no communication software that would allow our computer here, the mothership, to talk to their computer in the Hong Kong office and deal with kanji characters, fluctuating trade, different languages, written and oral, and there's another piece, you know, different regulatory, tax structure, shipping was all different. You know, how do you do that? And there were a couple of, one guy in particular, just somebody here from, some kid from Provo, Utah, who we hired, who is a genius, who said, I think I can figure this out. He flew off to Asia and spent a couple of months over there, and he hobbled together a little communication software and some tax structure, some tax software, and all the other pieces, and put together a system that could talk to us, that allowed us to start to create and this was our vocabulary, a global, seamless compensation plan. We were trying to do something that no one had done before. When other multi-level marketing companies would go to a new country, they would announce, okay, we're going to open Japan now, so if any of you, whatever country you're in, want to participate in Japan, you'll have to go sign up as a new distributor and build your organization there. Probably doesn't make sense for most of you, but we're going to do this. And so they built everything. There was, you know, Amway USA, Amway Japan, Amway Korea, Amway Australia, and never the combination would meet. There was no compensation plan that linked them together. Our vision was, if we could get our compensation plan to be global and seamless, then somebody from Luxembourg could go to Korea and sponsor somebody who, that sponsored person then could sponsor somebody in China, who could sponsor somebody in Australia, who could sponsor somebody in Provo, Utah, who could sponsor somebody back in Paris, and that first person from Luxembourg would receive commissions on all of those transactions, all of those sales throughout the world. Nobody had ever done such a thing because it was impossible. The technology didn't exist to allow you to do that complex, you know, what it meant was you were going to have millions and hundreds of millions of transactions going on every hour around the world in different currencies, different languages, different tax structures, different shipping costs, different everythings, that all had to be consolidated back together so calculations could be made so that you could pay people fairly around the world and not ever have to miss a check. Because we were all paranoid. If checks got mailed out one day late, one time, you'd all go home. And we would be out of business. We needed to maintain your trust. And because nobody had ever been able to figure out how to do that, we were the only game in town. And what that meant was that when we opened foreign markets, we didn't go over there alone and run some ads and get a few people coming into the room. We came with battalions of distributors from all over the world who had contacts in Hong Kong or in China or in Korea or whatever it is. And they began developing their folks there because they were financially incentivized to do that. And they came in with layered leadership. So somebody could go over there and develop a group, but they couldn't stay. They had to go home sometime to their wife and kids and their husband and others. And so they would, but somebody else would come in behind them. And so we were able to platoon this leadership in these countries so that we could develop strong local leadership through layered leadership that would come in waves into the new countries. It just took the world by storm. When we hired our president in Tokyo, we hired him. He was the president of Avon, Japan. And we sat in my office up here, and he said, in his very circumspect Japanese way, well, Mr. Stephen, what are your expectations? What do you think sales are going to be in Japan when we get started? And I said, well, we're patient, and we're confident that in time we'll figure it out.
Oh, we have no microphone.
Microphone, got that. I brought you and the microphone. This is best. But anyway, I just love these stories. That I said, you know, we don't care whether in the first year we do $10 million or $50 million. We think we could do $50 million. But, you know, if we do $5 or $10 million, we'll build to 50 in time. We've seen this before. We've done this here. We had a slow build here too. You know, it takes a while to get momentum going. So we're going to be there for the long term. So I don't want you losing sleep over whether you're hitting numbers or not. But we think if we get this right, we could do 30, 40, $50 million. And his eyes got big and he said, well, if we were to do that $50 million, we will have made history. Nobody's been able to do $50 million in the first year in Japan, which is a very closed society and closed economy. I think we did something like $80 million that year. And you know, because of this dynamic. We weren't starting from a dead stop. We were starting with proven leadership who knew how to drive business, who then arrived and came together. And so the history of Nu Skin developed along the thing. So at our roots, we are a technology company. All of that was enabled through innovative technology that we relied on that allowed us to unleash your power out around the world. And so what I was telling the folks at Silicon Slopes was that we are actually, you know, we are a technology company that happens to sell lotion, but we are technology enabled, and we'll continue to be. You know, as we move into the digital age, we need to be better and better at this. And we've lived through the birthing process of our digital capacities. It hasn't been pretty, and you know, some of you have suffered, I know, from not being able to get our shipping quite right, and not getting, not being able to give you the tools as quickly as we get. Believe me, it's not for a want of trying. You know, if you follow our public announcements and what we're saying to Wall Street, you know, a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, you know, we announced a $60 million write-down to the markets, that we had invested $60 million in a technology platform that we were scrapping, and it wasn't because we were idiots. We had some of the best consultants, well, we are, but that's not why. We had some of the best consultants in the world who were here guiding us down this path to build our own data farms and keep this all in house. But the world was changing as we were changing, until it became clear that we really needed to move to the cloud instead. And so now we're redirecting all that spend and spending tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars, trying to quickly adjust to a changing marketplace. And so here we are in the process again of reinventing ourselves as a technology company that happens to support the greatest distributor force on planet Earth.
So this question, your speech took me to a completely different question. I wrote in Danish, so you cannot see it. But
I already proved all the questions in advance. Now you're going to ask me the hard question?
No. I'll be very polite about this. So you spoke,
I can take it. Go ahead.
You spoke about technology, but you have a new structure of management. We saw Mark Lawrence, we saw Richwood. Richwood just announced a buy of 5 new companies, and many more to come. And then he overtopped. So how do you see this as a founder? Richwood, 5 new company bought, and more to come. Where are we going?
He overtalked? What is that?
No, he kept his word. Oh, I maybe said too much, but we liked it.
So now you're hoping that I'll say too much too?
Yeah, but then our story gets better. We are good in keeping secret and telling story.
Well, the acquisitions that he's talking about are acquisitions that we've been talking about for 35 years. And that is, at some point in time, it always felt like we should own our own manufacturing facilities. You get to the place where you're doing billions of dollars in sales, you probably ought to vertically integrate. When I was the CEO, this was a constant conversation. I always wanted to do this then. Our finance group was saying, we've got to manage to the street, and those investments won't drive value. We've got great vendors that are providing us great quality products, and the possibility of building our own manufacturing facility and misstepping, having a failure of product in some way was too high of a risk, and I agreed with them ultimately, but felt then and feel today that ultimately we need to get to this place. So rather than building a manufacturing facility from the ground up, we went out and bought one of those great vendors in fact, we bought several of those great vendors that were selling us encapsulated products and selling us cosmetics and so forth, that are just adding to our capacities in remarkable ways. Because they brought, sometimes you buy a company for the cash flow of the company, sometimes because of the technology, sometimes the real benefit that you get is the people. And the people that came with these companies are really helping raise the bar around here in terms of creative thinking and innovation on lots of levels. We took, it all gets maybe too deep, but so what these companies that we're acquiring and building are doing is allowing us to take command of our supply chain. When we look at what are our existential threats today, we're doing pretty well with the regulatory threat, but product contamination, is a problem that everybody struggles with. You've heard the stories coming out of China, where either because of pollution or because of corruption, bad ingredients end up in products that end up being harmful and hurting people. We need to minimize and eliminate the possibilities of that kind of contamination in every way possible. So he talked to you about Grow Vive, probably.
So, yeah, that is on my list. How big do you see Grow Vive? Which story could you tell what we could use? How do you see it?
The story that matters, Grow Vive's got a lot of
Potential.
Possibilities, in and out of our industry, but the reason that we've invested heavily in this company is to take control of our supply chain. So, he told you what it is. It's a box where we can grow ingredients for our products inside of essentially a hermetically sealed room where the air coming in passes through a HEPA filter. The water coming in, it goes through reverse osmosis before it gets there, so that nothing is getting on these seeds except pure air, pure water, and light technologies that we've been patenting and doing work on that allows us to optimize the growth pattern and the efficiency of growing these ingredients in an environment where you don't have to worry about some crop duster spraying insecticide or some defoliant over in this field and having the wind carry a little bit into our field so that now we're ingesting, poisons or toxins in some way. Now, we can have we'll have increased confidence that our products are the safest, most efficacious, most standardized. We know exactly what we're putting in those capsules, where it came from. We've been in control of it from the beginning. That's a powerful story. I think that's a game changer. I think that's a reinvention. I think that's a disruption to the status quo, which is growing herbs and fields subject to the vagaries of the great outdoors. So that's why Grow Vive is an exciting story.
This is unique. Nobody can buy. I'm not getting to say this if you don't want.
But Rich said that, didn't he?
Yeah. Rich said this.
I don't know. There'll be, if you read about this, as you become a student of vertical growing, it's called, you'll find that there are a lot of people trying to do this. We can't tell that anybody's doing this, though. Focused on microgreens, ingredients for products and so forth. We've got something different going on. We acquired a big interest in a Canadian company that's probably they're Dutch people that immigrated from Holland to Western Canada and built massive greenhouse operations there. And there's probably nobody in the world who knows more about indoor growing than they do. And they're helping us to get our ingredients ready to market through these indoor growing facilities, and we're helping them to figure out how to better use their light technologies so they're more efficient. We're going going to grow some great stuff together. But all of that in order to improve your story. Now we'll do some other things. You know, we're with this. Yeah, we'll do some other things too.
Which ones?
Other. You know, and Groby may be a company where we'll sell off some of the pieces of it that aren't strategic to what you do, but that are, you know, that have promise in the market, you know, promise in the agri space. But you know, our commitment is that you know our reason for entering this space is the reason that I've just given you, and any other good that falls out from it just benefits us because we'll have more resources available to do more research and development and do more things.
It was a few words, I like them. I like them very much. So, one last question on...
Did they talk to you about tapioca capsules?
Yes,
What's that?
the vegan capsule, yes.
This one of these acquisitions, Steve Hatch, the president of that company, has been working on this deal with this group that's developed a capsule that is that is vegan. You know, it's a vegetable source that actually seems to have the durability necessary. You know, people have been working on this forever to try to figure out a product that could be halal, that could be kosher, and that could be plant-based, you know, not animal-based for all the reasons that people are interested in that. Nobody's ever really gotten it right. 2 days ago, day before yesterday, what's today? I don't know, last couple of days. I walked down the stairs and Steve walked around the corner alongside. He had a bottle in his hand. He says, "Steve, look at this." He unscrews the lid. He drops this soft capsule. He says, "This is prostate formula in tapioca-based." They think this is the first bottle off the line right here. And so, you know, that's probably not going to reach you for a while, you know, as we scale up and we figure the deal out, but nobody's selling this right now. Eventually, we don't own the exclusivity on full disclosure. Ultimately, somebody else is probably going to start making some of this. But, you know, right now, you know, we're on the bleeding edge of this, and no matter what, you got to be there if you're going to be able to compete with those who do have it, and we're there first. So, just an example of the cool things that are coming out of this acquisition.
So, I'll not let you go before one last thing. This is...
Yes, you have the most wonderful wife.
I should only be the half person who I am. Thank you.
I'm not quite half.
No, but almost half. So give me one last, we are very much, just talk about Malawi. Why Malawi? Why did you start it off? Why we was down there together? We had a lot of touching things. And but it's better